Terry, I know you from C3 TV.
Absolutely. I was there for like 32 years.
You're
Wow.
all set to go, and Stephen is logging in now.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I would like to call the Community Preservation Committee's meeting into order. First, I would like to ask Alan to do a roll call for the quorum purpose.
Conley,
Present?
Deb Converse,
Yep.
Terry Duenas,
Here.
Catherine Garofoli,
Here.
Farley Lewis,
Here.
Steve Robichaud.
Steve is here.
Okay, got him.
This meeting of the Community Preservation is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and please let their presence known. Hearing none, we have to make a hard stop at 6:45, so we should kind of limited our comment into state projects as much as we can. The first item is the CPA financial update. Mark Milnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, committee members. Mark Milne, Director of Finance. I think Alan shared with you today some financial statements that I put together for the committee that we'll review this evening. If I could share my screen. Let's see. Okay, they gave me permissions. Here we go. Can everybody see this okay?
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So your first schedule here that was handed out is changed a little bit than what was shared with you earlier today with Alan, and that's because I just received a appropriation order for the Katuitt High Grounds conservation restriction, which we're going to trying to place on the town council's agenda this Thursday evening for a first read. So I added that to this schedule. But this schedule shows what the remaining balances available for each program area to date. This includes all the fiscal year 25 appropriation activity and set-asides for the Community Preservation Fund.
She was crying because you were upstairs.
As of today, the balance in community housing is available for appropriation is just over $795,000. Historic preservation, we have just over $239,000. After the contingent awards for the West Barnstable Railroad Depot and Katuitt High Grounds, we have zero balance remaining in the open space recreation. But then together with the budget reserve and the undesignated fund balance, we have about $13.5 million remaining that are available for any one of the three program areas. Altogether, we have about $14.6 million of available resources for the Community Preservation Fund as of today. I'll move to the next statement unless anybody has a question on this particular one. I can't see everybody, so.
Any question from the members?
Just a quick one. This comes from through April 28th, starts when?
Beginning of this is true, yeah, July 1, 2024 through today.
Okay, 2024, okay, not from the beginning.
So all fiscal year 25 activity to date.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
This next schedule is a summary of the active appropriations that we currently have open for the Community Preservation Committee. These have all been approved by the Town Council and are still coded in our munis system as active appropriations being worked on. In total, it's about $5.5 million with about $4.2 million that remain in those appropriations after expenditures and encumbrances. There's about 15 projects here, and that's currently what's open in our system. We'd be happy to answer any questions on this schedule if anybody has any.
Any questions from the members?
Got it.
Hearing
we-
nothing.
We will update this with any action that the town council may take this Thursday evening. This next schedule is a statement of the revenues and expenditures and changes in fund balance for the Community Preservation Fund. This is all activity from July 1, 2024 through today. We've collected over $3.6 million in surtaxes for the community preservation tax. We've received almost $1.3 million in state aid. About $800,000 of that was matching funds that we received from the state's trust fund. And the other $490,000 was a grant that we received for the Wheeler Road conservation restriction. To date, through 9 months through March, we have investment earnings of $504,000. So we're on pace to break $600,000 in investment earnings on the excess cash in this fund for fiscal year 25 by the time we close on June 30th. Expenditures to date include just over $80,000 for administrative expenses, $168,000 for community recreation projects, $542,000 for open space projects, $38,000 for historic preservation, and $363,000 for debt service. And so you subtract those total expenditures of $1,192,000 from the total revenues to date, we're running a surplus of $4,240,000, and we add that to the fund balance in this fund that we had at the beginning of the fiscal year of $17 million. We're up to $21,774,000 of fund balance. This is how that fund balance, if you look at the bottom of this page 4, the next page, you look at, this is how the $21.7 million is broken out in fund balance. We have $586,000 set aside for encumbrances, $239,000 available for appropriation for historic preservation type projects, $795,000 for community housing projects, nothing for open space recreation, $4.1 million. That is the continuing appropriations, that second schedule we looked at earlier, and $15.9 million that's unreserved fund balance. And cash at the current date in the fund is almost $21.8 million. We have about $1.2 million of surtaxes receivable, and about $296,000 of remaining bonds payable for the Community Preservation Fund. That consists mainly of the loan that we took out to do the town hall renovations back in 2010. Right. That loan will expire in 2030. So the good news is that there's very little debt remaining in this fund. We've paid off all the land bank debt except for one small loan. And then we just have the town hall note remaining through fiscal year 2030, and there's no more debt after that. So we really have some capacity here to start thinking about, a comprehensive package for any one of these program areas that the committee may want to consider. So with that said, I'll stop sharing my screen and answer any questions that anyone may have.
Tom, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Mark, thank you for providing that information. You had a slide that showed all the appropriated funds for projects. Yes. And I just want to understand, for the projects that haven't expended their money, what is the town's sort of process to follow up on that? Like, I know that a couple of them are town projects, so I'm just sort of wondering, at what point could those funds be returned to the CPC balance? Yeah,
so almost on a quarterly basis, I meet with the committee chair, and we review those outstanding balances. And if we need to talk to if it's a town project, we'll talk internally to the department head to find out what the status of the project is. But outside projects are managed. We'll follow up with the outside entity itself. to get the status of their project, and we're reviewing those almost on a quarterly basis. And that's one of the very first schedule that I provided you this evening shows that there were 3 projects that were closed this year, and the funds were returned. One of those being the 211 Cedar Tree Neck Road property acquisition. We ended up not going through with that property acquisition because the sellers ended up selling it to somebody else. So we returned those funds. We had the Katuah Federated Church funds for $179,000. Those were closed out. That was Town Council Order 2022-153. And then Town Council Order 2022-152 for Little League restrooms. That was $200,000. That project was closed as well this year. So it's almost on a quarterly basis. We review these outstanding list of projects and inquire as to what the status is to see if any of them can be closed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Also, Catherine, as far as this and as well as the CPC members, Lindsay always review this with me on a regular basis. If there's any project that we can close out, that we try to chase it and close it out. Steve?
Yes, thank you. I have a few questions. Appreciate the time. First off, I just always like to, Mr. Milne, I'd like to give you my compliments to you and your team. You know, it's a very healthy fund with very low debt. You know, the investment income is something that I'm always very impressed by. I'm very pleased that we're able to put our funds to work and earn money off of them. So always like to take this opportunity to thank you and commend you for your work. I had one question for you, and then I just had a couple comments. The question is, you know, we've seen as life has evolved since COVID, we've seen home values on the Cape increase. And obviously that equates to us having, you know, higher real estate taxes, which is what it is. But I just wanted to ask, does that affect the income that this fund is making off of assessments? Is there a correlation there, or is our income fixed? Is it based on the home value?
Your income is based on a formula. It's 3% of the real estate tax on properties. Okay. And so it's really the change in assessed values. If we see an increase in assessed values, it's not going to increase or make more money for this fund because the fund is restricted, or our tax levy is restricted by Proposition 2.5. So what's happened over the past few years is that as assessed values have skyrocketed, you've seen decreases in our tax rate because the value of homes is increasing at a faster percentage rate than the increase in our tax levy, because our tax levy is restricted under Proposition 2.5. And so 3% of the tax levy, whatever the tax levy is from year to year, and we get 3% of that for the Community Preservation Fund tax. And that's fixed. That's based on, you know, the property tax levy and not assessed values.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. If you were to take that data and graph it out over 10 years, would you see a straight line, or would you see an increase in
you'll see an increase because, okay, you know, the tax levy increases anywhere from 3.5% to 4% under Proposition 2.5. Base increase at 2.5%, and then new growth. We have new property growth every year, and then ends up increasing the tax levy by another $1.5 million. So we usually see about a 3.5%, 4% increase in the tax levy. So the surtax increases 3.5%, 4% every year. Same percentage rate as the overall tax levy does.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's great. I appreciate that. Very educational. And my comments are simply, again, you know, it's a healthy fund. And we've had some conversations from the chair recently about the fact that, you know, we should consider possibly a new bond. I think with the fact that we are not heavy in debt and we have such reliable, secure income year after year, I think doing a new bond program focused specifically on recreation and even more specifically on playgrounds is an option that we should all consider. And my last question is just, again, for those of us that are a little bit financially illiterate, can you just explain one more time? I know you touched on it, but just explain one more time. When you look at the first slide you shared with a total about 15.9 million versus the last slide you shared showing the total cash assets, 23.2 million. Can you just explain one more time in simple terms the difference, where that difference comes from between those two numbers?
Yeah, the difference between cash and fund balance is really what we've set aside for existing appropriations and encumbrances. That's the difference, because the cash is still sitting in the treasury. We haven't expended those appropriations fully. So the fund balance ends up being a little bit less than what the cash balance is, because we're waiting to spend down those appropriations.
Okay, so that just speaks to our cycle where we may give an award and then the money is not expended until work begins or something to that effect.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for the time, Tom.
Thank you. Any more questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Yep.
Thank you.
The next item is the presentations of the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust Board 2024 year-end report by Trust Administrator Julian Douglas.
Good evening, Community Preservation Committee members, and thank you for your service in this town. I'm Jillian Douglas, the Trust Board's Administrator, and I'm your primary contact or your liaison to the Trust Board, or I can be. I will just start. I have 9 slides. Hopefully I can go through them very quickly because I know you have a tight agenda. So let's see if I can share my screen. Hopefully. See if I can do that. Sharing. And this. Is that showing at all?
Not yet.
No? Okay. Sorry, guys.
Catherine, you look like you're in a space capsule. Are you in your car?
Yeah, I'm sitting in the Falmouth Town Hall parking lot in my.
Oh, okay.
Yes, coming up.
Okay, good, good. All right, let's see if I can get back to where I am. Okay. Moving up. I'm sorry. I thought I was quicker with this. Okay, here we are. Okay, so this is just to present. We are the Barnstable Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust, and presenting to the CPC. And I'm looking to see, I think I can do my slideshow. It seems to be moving across the screen here. There we go. So, is that coming up? There we go. Okay. So I am here tonight just to answer any questions that members might have in relation to the 2024 year-end report, and to give a very
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Your presentation is not showing. It's just a black screen. Oh, there it goes. You're in a weird presentation mode.
Go back, see if I can stop that. It was doing slideshow. Sorry, let me get
Okay, it's beginning.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I thought I had this all set up.
That's okay.
Move this window away from the shared application. I don't know what that means. Let me try this again.
If you want me to come over and help you, I am in the building. I'm just across the
hall. I would love that. In the meantime,
okay, you just gonna let me in.
Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna go get Sarah. Bear with me a minute. Oh, now it looks like it's there. It's showing here, but it's not showing there. So let's. We don't need all the shoes. Got it? No. Display settings, maybe? Oh, I probably can just
Now,
look. Did you get it?
now we see the slide.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And hopefully I'll be able to switch back. Okay. So let's see if I can advance the slides. Here we go. So again, just here to report on the end of year and any questions that people might have. I realize you have a time constraint, so I'm going to try to go quickly. I can always come back for future presentations at your request.
Okay.
So let's see. So just to introduce you, Board of Trustees for the Barnstable Affordable Housing Growth Development Trust is 4 members currently. It's a 5-member slate. Mark Ells is your current town manager and chair and has been consistently for many years. Andy Clyburn, your assistant town manager, serves as vice chair. Mark Milne, your finance director, who you just saw, is the treasurer for the trust. Laura Schufeld is your affordable housing specialist. She is a resident of Barnstable and works for Mass Housing Partnership, extremely knowledgeable. Wendy Northcross was your economic development specialist, and she has resigned or stepped down. And we have a vacancy currently, and the chair is working to fill that important vacancy. But I did want to say thank you to Wendy for all of her service over 10 years during a very formative and crucial years for the trust. She brought unique experience related to the Cape economy and some very effective investment strategies for economic development. And again, you are served very well by a consistent board and continuity for a logical continuity for its programs. So let's see, I guess this is just to update you on the housing market. Sadly, despite everything that we're trying to do, all the different efforts that the town and the state and the region are doing, we have the problematic conditions related to housing are not subsiding. The demand for housing is still outpacing supply. We have a lack of year-round affordable homes for rent and ownership. Builders are producing housing, but most of the new units are not affordable on the general market. Most local wages are still not sufficient to cover the rents of the over $1,200 that is a standard rent or a market rent currently. Most renters are expending over 30% of their monthly income on housing. Their wait lists for the deed-restricted affordable units are between 3 and 10 years, which is not sustainable. Very few vacancies in year-round units and a very low turnover. And the effect is that lower income earners and households are leaving or not coming to the Cape. And so the next question is, what can a trust do to help? Trusts are intended to be more nimble than other municipal entities. So the goal is to try and act quickly when market conditions or emergency conditions arise. The trust can contract for new or existing entities to address local issues and regional strategies. Let's see, we can collect fees and we can collect money and from various sources, gifts, fees, fines, proceeds from sales and collections, grants and appropriations from the general fund, and designated tax and revenue streams. We can also, as a trust, engage in real estate activity that other municipal entities are not able to do. We can accept or receive property, personal property or money by grant or gift or contribution, including and not limited to money, grants, or other property. The trust can purchase and retain real or personal property interests, including instruments such as deed and use restrictions. And I stress that here because I think you guys are familiar with how those use restrictions work, but they are the primary way that municipalities or any entity preserves the affordability of the housing units that we support. The trust can also sell, lease, loan, exchange, or convey any personal property. And we can also participate in public auctions or by private contract. And this, I'm just putting this up here as a, this is the list of the current grants and subsidies that the trust has in place as of 2024. The first three projects there are completed projects. And actually, we should include Linnell Landing is actually pretty much complete at this moment. And I can bring this slide back at any point, and I can help you by giving you more information about any of these projects at any time. But I'm just going to stop. Well, I have one more point. I just wanted to give you the current balance, as Mark Millen had noted. 839,000 about is the remaining balance in the trust from previous CPA transfers. And if you, that amount equates to about 6 additional deed restricted units. And I can also go into how that's determined if you need. The only other designated monies that are coming to the trust that we have identified is through a regulatory agreement at the Kmart Plaza. It's called the WS Landing Agreement. And from that agreement, there will be a 10-year stream of $75,000 a year. Of that amount, the trust is seeking to allocate $50,000 when those funds come in for buy down of ownership units that might come up for resale to ensure that they stay affordable. And again, I can explain more about that if you need. And then the last piece of that regulatory agreement that was negotiated was a $1,750,000 lump sum payment that is expected in FY 2027. And I will simply stop, I think, the screen at that point and ask if people have questions. And I plan to stay here for the duration of your meeting when we get to the next piece about the letter of interest or the trust letter of interest for an application. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jill.
Stop this now. There we go.
Any question from the CBC members?
Yes, I have a question, Tom.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Jillian, thanks for the presentation. I'm wondering, and forgive me if I missed it, but is there any sort of like rental assistance that the trust is providing? Like, I feel like if there is such a discrepancy between what an average lease would be and what is affordable, like, could the funds in the trust help support like that sort of subsidy?
The answer is currently we do not have a rent assistance program. The trust has talked about that before. We would be prohibited from directly applying. In other words, funds could not go directly to the recipient. In other words, if you have an income eligible renter that's applying, so we would have to go through, we'd have to contract with an entity that does that sort of a support service. Mm-hmm. In the past, I know Housing Assistance Corporation had done that for the town during COVID. So it would be something that we certainly could do, but have not yet. And the reason that we haven't really done that is because we were still receiving applications from developers. And honestly, the impact is a little bit broader, if you will, by the creation of units than it is by individual support, which isn't to say that that's not a very viable and worthy program, but it isn't something that we've done yet. I hope that answers, but certainly the town could and the trust could do that.
Just yes. Keep in mind some of the federal funds have been cut, even for housing authorities and other entities that handle subsidies. So
I can also say that one of the other concerns about a rental assistance program is that when you assist families, there's a cap to how much you can do, and you would expect that when people are not stably housed, sometimes that the duration of the need for those funds can go for quite some time. And that's another concern for the trust, is that we don't have a lot of money that we could put towards that. So that would be, so no, I think you understand that, but I can expand if you need.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Have you had any requests for the accessory dwelling units at all?
The trust is not directly involved with the ADUs. I can say that there are some towns on the Cape that have set aside funding to assist with ADUs and the development of ADUs. Typically, that would be like a zero interest loan program, or and the cap that I've seen, I know CDAC has just advertised that they are making money available to that on this state level. That is a cap of 50,000, I believe, and that the program that they're doing it through is a home modification loan program. So it's targeted to folks that are needing to make modifications, or perhaps their home is in disrepair. Is not currently habitable. So those funds would be available. It's typically going to be restricted also to income eligible applicants. So it's an opportunity, but probably, again, the amount of funds that you need to have to create a program like that, you're going to need to probably supplement that with something in addition to, and have an ongoing revenue source.
Right.
Again, I'll stop, but any questions?
I think Steve.
Yeah, I definitely have some comments. I don't know if this is the right time or if I should wait for the letter of intent, but I guess it really doesn't matter. So I'll just kind of get it out in the open. I mean, really all I want to try and do is plant some seeds for the discussion at the application phase. I know what's coming up later on our agenda is a letter of intent. Obviously, we send that to application, and hopefully we have a more robust conversation. The biggest thing for me is I don't think we're giving this topic enough time. If you look at tonight's agenda, we're rushed. We've got to get through a lot of things. If we go way back to when I first started, I really enjoyed the process of being actively involved in the applications that came before us, and we really were more engaged in discussion about how the money was spent, what the individual projects looked like. So I'm feeling a little nostalgic, and I'm kind of missing those days a little bit. And my comments are in no way a critique of anyone. Everyone's doing a wonderful job. I just kind of want to shake things up a little bit, and kind of want to see things happen a little bit differently. And if my comments seem a little intense and firm, it's only because I'm so passionate about this. This is such a major issue, and there's so much to talk about. I feel we've got to give it more room to breathe. So, for me, the updates two times a year is not sufficient. I think it's got to be quarterly. I would encourage us to have a separate standalone meeting just for that one agenda item. You can't take this topic, make it an agenda item, and just rush through it. It's got to be its own separate meeting. I don't think any members of the CPC would oppose to, let's do one additional meeting a quarter and dig into housing. We've got to find ways to identify more sources of income. I mean, I'm so thrilled to see what you're doing. This is huge, huge progress compared to where we were, but we have a long way to go, and we've got to add more sources of income. I'm going to put an idea on the table that might be a little bit far-fetched, but with CPC being the primary source of income for the trust, I think a member of CPC should occupy that 5th seat on the trust. And I firmly believe that. It could be the chair, it could be an individual that CPC nominates and votes on. But I strongly believe that with us being the main source of income, that 5th seat should be a member of this committee. And again, just giving it more room to breathe, more time to kick things around. I don't want the quarterly updates to be presentations. I want them to be discussions. I want it to be dialogue. I have so many pages and pages of notes and questions and all that, but I'm not gonna go into that deep tonight. I'm just gonna kind of, again, I want to plant some seeds for the application discussion. It's $2.5 million. It's a lot of money. We should give it room to breathe. We should talk about it in depth. And yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. I just want to shake things up a little bit. I'm passionate about it. I feel, you know, I don't want to say slighted, but sidelined. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like we are as engaged as we used to be. And I think we do a great job of it. I think this group is very knowledgeable, and I think we should just be more involved. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Steve. I hear you. So, you know, we've discussed that with Lindsay to set some more meeting time individually for the housing aspect of it. I think we all have the passion of that, especially town-wide. There's a lot of housing needs to be taken care of, and we have not spent that much time talking about this. So,
yeah, well said. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I want to stop the presentation right now. I want to go through the agenda pretty quick because I'm running out against time here.
Very good. And I thank you. I also, Steve, your point about a dialogue back and forth, that is so important. And I appreciate that comment. I will definitely carry that back. Thank you.
And I do too, Steve, because I have been involved with housing for probably 105 years. And I'm so stale about housing that some new ideas would be lovely.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a chance to look at the regular meeting minutes for March 17th?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion. Okay.
Deb.
I'll make a motion to approve. Somebody second.
I'll second.
Steve seconds. Roll call.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Catherine Garofoli,
Yes.
Carly Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have 4 letters of intent. The first one is a letter of intent has been received from the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust Fund Board requesting for the transfer of a total $2.5 million in community preservation, community housing, and undesignated funds to continue to prioritize strategies and actions to address the severe housing shortage that Cape Cod continues to experience. Julian?
Jillian?
Hi. Well, again, I can certainly give you more information at this point, or I can take it under advisement and come back when you would like I gather, much more detailed presentation about more housing issues as opposed to just what the trust is doing. And I'm happy to facilitate whatever I can with that. Thank you.
Yeah, we can have more discussions in the application phase. I think we all know what the purpose of this request is. So anyone have a motion to move this item?
Tom, I have a question first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Jillian, when you go through the application process, I think what would be really helpful for the members to understand what is the allocation of the $2.5 million? Where is it going to? What specific activities? I'd really like to know exactly how that money is going to get dedicated.
Well, I can state at the moment, the primary applications that the trust is receiving are related to development of housing. And so the funding that the trust is providing to subsidize those developments is primarily the deed restriction component. So it's to subsidize and make units affordable, in addition to what's required under the inclusionary ordinance. So they have a minimum of 10% if they're producing over 10 units that they have to provide as affordable, deed restricted, and then the trust is subsidizing with funding to have additional units. And that's really all we've done at the moment, is focused on the development, subsidizing developers to deed restrict units for affordability. And so that isn't to say that that's all the trust could do, but that's the area where we've had the greatest success. And we are still seeing applications come in, developers who are interested in that funding. It is a kind of specialized area. Not everybody is looking to build affordable units. So, and I'll stop again. I'm sorry, I talk too much.
No,
It's good. Good.
any question from the CBC members?
I mean, if I may, Tom.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be quick, maybe. Has the trust considered asking for more than 10%? I know a couple of the developments have gotten more than 10%, but I mean, money is tight. So, you know, is there some thought to that, which you could put in your application? You don't have to answer tonight.
Well, I can answer that the trust doesn't subsidize those 10%. That's a requirement. That's part of your zoning ordinance. And so those units are required by the developer. So what the trust is doing is to try and leverage more units, and perhaps at a higher level or a lower level of affordability.
Yeah. Okay. It used to be 25%. You remember that problem, maybe.
We don't change the zoning, but that's a good idea.
Anyone want to make a motion to approve this letter of intent?
I'll make a motion to move the letter of intent to application.
Anyone second?
Second.
Roll call.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Catherine Garofoli,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second item is a letter of intent has been received from BLT requesting $600,000 in community preservation open space funds in support of the acquisitions and preservations of the 13 acres of high priority ecologically significant pond front property on Mill Pond addressed at 3640 Falmouth Road, Marston's Mill, map 058, parcel 012. The total purchase price is $1.2 million, and a mass conservation partnership grant for $425,000 will be applied for in June 2025. Barnstable Land Trust will own the property, and the conservation restrictions to be granted to the town of Barnstable. Janet?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Kelly Grant is also here with me from Barnstable Land Trust. I have a few slides to show you. This is, I'm sorry it doesn't look like I'm looking at my screen. I'm having a little technical difficulty on my end. So it looks like I'm looking off, but I am here and I see you all. Thank you, Sarah. This project is one of the best open space projects that we have had come to us in my time at BLT, at least, for the incredible ecological value that it has. And I just want to go through these slides very quickly just to give you a sense of that. It's 13 acres on Mill Pond. As you can see, Mill Pond it's the Mill Pond that's at the intersection of 149 and 28.
Okay.
If you go to the next slide, you'll see that it scores incredibly high in terms of the state ecological conservation layers, which they call biomaps. So this one is priority habitat of rare species, core habitat, and you can see that about a half the property, which is outlined in red there, is core species and or rare habitat. If you go to the next slide, you know, the whole thing is in some category of biomap, rare species or natural landscape or core habitat components. It's mostly because of the pond front and because the pond also contains rare species. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that half of the property is in Zone 2 for the COM Water District, very near the wellheads, as you can see, those blue dots there. And if you go to the next slide, the whole property is in this new layer that the state is putting on called local landscapes, and that takes into account large areas of intact, unfragmented lands and waters that provide habitat for wide-ranging species and support dynamic natural processes and resilient ecosystems. And this is about 400 acres of open space here that this project connects to. So that also is incredibly important. Some of that is owned by the town, and if we go to the next slide, I think we can see the ownership. Yeah, so all of the light pink there is owned by the town. The darker pink is BLT lands. I believe the orange is other, private.
Yeah.
You know, this is another really important characteristic of space that ought to be protected. This is all developable land. If you go to the next slide, might be the last one. This just shows where it lies on the Marston's Mills River, which drains into Prince Cove, Warren Cove and Prince Cove. And as I'm sure you know, it is the there's a fish ladder there, right at Mill Pond at 149, where the herring go up to Middle Pond and spawn there and then come back down. If you go to the next and last, oh, this is the last slide. Okay, we're done with the slides. So, awesome project from the conservation perspective, and we would love your help in supporting it.
Thank you, Janet. Any questions for Janet?
Yep.
Farley?
Yeah, thank you very much for this presentation. I'm just, who currently owns this property? Is it?
The Webster family.
The Webster family, okay. And are there other people that are interested in purchasing it at this point?
Well, we have it under agreement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, very good. All right.
To add.
Who has questions?
Yeah.
Oh, so Janet, I just have to say, like, this is an exceptional property on pond front, and you know, given the concerns of water quality in Mill Pond, development there would be detrimental to the habitats that exist there. And so I think this is a terrific project, and I'm astonished that BLT got this piece.
Thank you. Yeah, we feel really grateful.
Yeah, Tom.
And I got a quick questions. Is the town talking about dredging the Mill Pond? Are they going to use this parcel as part of the dredging activity as well, or no?
They are planning to do that. There are a number of plans for the pond. There's a grant, I think they were just awarded to analyze potential dam removal there. There are plans for reconstruction of the fish ladder, I believe, and plans for dredging. So lots and lots of town interest. And as we are drafting the CR, we are asking the town for their input to make sure that we can accommodate any needs that the town has that are related to this parcel.
Okay, thank you. Any other question from the CPC members?
I have sort of a silly one, Tom.
What?
I have sort of a silly one.
Go ahead.
just if you preserve this land, well, along with the other land that's preserved, do the property values go up on the privately owned?
You know, it's hard to say in any specific case, but in general, residential land next to open space is higher value than land that is not next to open space. But you also just reminded me, Deb, that there are lots and lots of walking trails in the town land north of the parcel, and it will be a perfect opportunity to extend those trails into this 13-acre parcel.
Right. I was just thinking of donations from the property owners. That's all. Extortion.
They're always our first ask. Neighbors.
Anyone want to make a motion to approve this letter of intent?
I'll make a motion.
Anyone
Second.
Bobby seconds. Roll call.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Terry Duenas. Terry,
Yes.
Catherine Garofoli,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet, and thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
The next one is the a letter of intent has been received from the town of Barnstable DPW requesting $407,000 in community preservation, open space, and recreational funds to revitalize and improve Contuit Memory Park located at 889 Main Street, Contuit map 035, parcel 051. The total estimated project cost is $521,000 with $114,000 in capital improvement funding to be provided. The Contour Civic Association has requested the rejuvenation of this park that is a focal point for the village connecting to the library, waterfront, playground, and post office. Mark?
Thanks. I'm going to share my screen. And let me know if you can see this.
It's coming up. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
This is the Katuah Memorial Park. We actually met this morning with the Katuah Civic Association on the needs of Katuah, and this was their #1 project. You already read this first page, but here's photographs of the park. Just notice that this monument right here, this is the World War II monument, and I will show that to you in the plan. So basically, we're looking to make a number of improvements here. They've met with the tree warden. He's basically condemned the trees on the site there. If you go there and walk the path, you'll see that there are a number that have already been cut down years ago. They're diseased and they're in a state of decay, so we're going to be redoing the trees. This is the existing site plan. You'll notice that off of Main Street, there's a walkway to the flagpole with a circle around it. There's a path that leads to the World War I memorial and a path that leads to the World War II memorial. This is the property line for the park. And at some time in the past, the library has modified their driveway and the parking lot, which is now encroaching on this memorial. This walkway to the back here goes up onto private property, which is the church. This slope does not meet handicap code, so there's no ADA access from School Street. The walkways to the monuments do not meet handicap code. They're about 2'9" in width, and there's not a turning radius at the end. And again, this is the steep slope that goes up to the church that does not meet code. Here's the paths, here's the monument. Notice the encroachment, the trees and the bushes and the slope. This is the flagpole, which is in a state of disrepair. More paths that don't meet handicap code. We looked at some precedences. We came up with a number of different ideas, and we've been developing this over the past 2 years with the Civic Association. One of the main things we want to do is there's a set of stairs that come down from the library that leads onto the grass. We want to push the flagpole back and create this connection to the library as well off Main Street. This would be all pavers to here. We're going to reroute the path so that it meets ADA code. So there's a connection to School Street, as well as continue the path down to the existing walkway that happens here at the intersection. This is, we're going to include irrigation. We've also included new plantings. These will be more mature trees, not the little sticks that are usually planted. But we're creating a false perspective view with this, and also opening up some of the green space because there's activities in this park, such as fairs and different activities that happen in the center of Katuitt every year. So we're looking, and here's a budget. So this is how the CPC eligible items list out and how other funds list out. So we're just looking for a vote today to move this to a full application so we can get into more detail next time.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions from the CPC members?
Who will maintain it?
The park is currently maintained by Structures and Grounds. They currently maintain it. They also maintain the flower beds out front. We're looking to change those flower beds and make them a little more organic rather than these long straight strips. The property will be irrigated so that, you know, it'll be green all year long rather than drying out in the summer. There's also a playground on the site that does not belong to the town. It's part of the church's daycare facility over there. That is all being worked out through Dave Anthony and through property management.
I wondered about the organics because I know there are a couple places in Katuitt that don't use organics and they're owned by the town. So I was wondering about organics.
Yeah, I'd have to talk to Grounds about what they use. I know that we don't use pesticides at all.
Right now.
But I'm not sure what they actually use for fertilizer or whatnot, or if they even do.
Thank you. Any other question from the CPC members? Seeing none, anyone want to make a motion to approve this letter of intent?
Yeah, I would make a motion to move the Town of Barnstable DPW request for $407,000 for the 889 Main Street Katuitt revitalization to the application phase.
I'll second. Roll call.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Catherine Garofoli,
Yes.
Barley Lewis,
Yes.
Barley,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Tom, I have to run.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The last letter of intent is the Odd Fellows launch to requesting $69,360 in community preservation, historic preservation funds for preservations and restoration work for the Odd Fellows building, including roof, gutter, trim replacement, foundations repair, and waterproofing. The building is listed on the State Register of Historic Places. This is a continuance from March 17th, and our attorney, Kate, has determined that this project is eligible for the CPC funds. That's why it's on the agenda. Anyone presenting anything on this?
Yes, that's me.
Okay. Hi, Paul.
Hi. So, in the interim, at the last meeting, Mr. Council had said that we should get a survey from a preservation architect. So we've contacted Lisa Harrington from Building Conservation Associates, and she can she's a preservation architect, and she can do the survey of the building for $4,800. There was some question, though, so we may also need a historic restriction, and so there was some question as to which came first. I would tell you, though, that there are some pressing issues. The gutters on both sides of that building are shot, and they're causing water damage. I think water may be going inside the walls. the buildings on either side are complaining about water on their buildings, so that one I think needs to be addressed first. You know, I would think the first thing would be the survey, and then perhaps the historic restriction, but we could use some immediate funds to address the water and the gutter problem.
Okay. I discussed this with Lindsay, and we have the money under the administrative budgets to do this, but I need a vote for that. But we are also looking to move this letter of intent into the application phase as well, right?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. So for this one, we are just going to approve using the administrative funds to pay for the $4,800 for the building assessments.
Assessments or the gutters?
No, for the building assessment, how the whole building looks in terms of the envelope.
Yeah. Okay. Like that doesn't solve his immediate problem. No.
Correct. Correct. So could I have a motion to approve this funding request?
I'll make a motion to approve the administrative $4,800 to do the building assessment.
Anyone second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Carly Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Roberstard.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Good luck, Paul.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
We have one applications, and this is from the DPW requesting 2.9 million in community preservation historic preservation funds to begin revitalizing the work on the Hyannis Armory located at 225 South Street, Hyannis map 326 parcel 004. Proposed improvement in this phase will preserve the building envelope, including masonry restoration, masonry steel, lintels work, window and door replacement, and roof restorations or replacement. This funding request represents a portion of the total full estimated total cost of $10 million, with matching funds provided totals $867,175. The Hyannis Armory is listed on the State Register of Historic and Historical Places as a contributing buildings in the Hyannis Main Street waterfront historic district, and holds a significant place in American history, as it was at the Armory that President-elect John F. Kennedy delivered his acceptance speech following the 1960 elections. Mark?
We'll share my screen once again. Let me know if you don't see it.
It's coming up.
Oh, the lights in New York. Oh.
Okay. I will rush through this because I know you don't have much time, but we are looking for $2.9 million. This project is part of a series of projects for adaptive reuse of the building. Right now, as Tom said, it's on the cultural resource in Massachusetts. It's in the Waterfront Historic District. It's on the Kennedy Legacy Trail as a stop because of the event that took place there with the acceptance speech of John Kennedy. I don't have time to go through some of his quotes, but they're interesting. Here's the exterior. We're getting water leaking in through the roof, which is never good. The jack arches, steel lintels over the windows are corroding and cracking the masonry, which then allows more water into the system, which the freeze-thaw cycles just makes that worse. It's happening in a number of places.
6:35 p.m.
The old steel windows are corroding and in danger of falling out in some situations. The town council appropriated $867,000, I believe, for asbestos abatement and architectural and engineering design for this building. This is a picture of the architect's drawings for the exterior restoration, with documenting all the cracks. Of course, the asbestos caulk that's in there, and to remove that and to restore the exterior. Last time I was here, you asked about the plan. A number of years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago, DPW was asked to come up with a plan for the building because it was deteriorating there and the town really couldn't get any interest or traction with interest for the building. We proposed to reuse the building as town offices. This is the main entrance that's there now. This hall could be turned into 250 to 275 seats for town council chamber, town manager's offices, town council's offices, legal department, a kitchen that would be off of the meeting room that could be used for other functions, and of course, restrooms. This is the architectural drawing for that that's been developed. So you can see here's the kitchen with a opening wall that could, so that these chairs can be put in storage and this space can be used for multi-purposes as well as meetings. And this was our initial, this is probably, 10 years ago, our initial renderings of the space and how it could be used. We did a SketchUp model and kind of a flyby of the space so you could see how it could be better utilized than what it's being used for now, which is cold storage. So I went through basically this just address, I can send this to you. This addresses the concerns of CPC to meet the criteria for historic preservation. How does it protect and help preserve Barnstable's character? And then with the list of all those items, adaptive reuse of existing buildings is a prime example. So it meets many, many of the requirements that's in the bulletin for CPC projects. We've already done probably 80 to 90% of the asbestos abatement in the building. This entire crawl space was filled with sand that was contaminated with asbestos. We initially thought it was contaminated because of the pipe insulation that was pulled down in the space, but we removed 6 inches of material and it still tested positive. We went down about 2 feet to remove all this material to get a negative. So I think that so the contaminated material was just dumped in here at one point in time to get rid of it. The Army National Guard also left us, so this is the space after it, and this was all the debris from the asbestos abatement. We've also taken out pipe insulations on the first floor and demolished the bathrooms that were there. The Army National Guard left us some presents. We had munitions in the sand in the crawl space, which was fun to find, and we had these shoulder-mounted anti-tank missiles that were left in the safe on the first floor, which nobody had opened since we acquired the building.
Jeez.
So we're proposing, right now I'm about 95% done with the construction documents. So based on availability of funding, we would start this summer, design on the bid process. Construction would begin in spring 2026, and we think probably fall, winter of 2027, we'd be able to complete the project. And this was funding, I believe this was included in the packet for the application on how the funding worked out for the different categories and the construction costs and the soft costs.
Thank you, Mark.
Stop sharing. I went through that rushed. Hopefully you don't have a lot of questions, but I'm here for questions if you do.
Any question from the CPC members, Stephen?
Just one quick one. I mean, the timeline looks great. It looks like a great project. It would be nice to get this done and revitalized. I love the interior renderings, but that's my next question is, when would we do the interior? Because it would be a bummer to get through 2027 and be done with the exterior and then have it sit for another 10 years. So what are you thinking on the interior?
Well, there is, every year I submit capital improvement plans for this building. We were really moving forward with this before COVID. Once COVID hit, construction costs increased 23% across the board. So it really pushed the cost of this up. At that point, some of those prices have come down. So what would happen in August, I would be submitting a revised capital improvement plan for the construction of the interior on this.
Great. Yeah, I mean, that's great to hear. And I can't speak for the whole committee here, but I think that you would find a lot of support here if you came back for the interior. So thank you.
Especially if the CPC is approving this funding, is kind of pushing these projects forward a little bit to the town council.
So what you're suggesting then is to spend the amount you're requesting on just the outside, or would that include inside too?
It's our estimate for the exterior. Whenever we look at buildings, and we've done this, I've been working with the town for 17 years. You know, we look at first, the most important thing is to stop the decay. So we look at the exterior envelope of the building, fix the roofs, fix the siding, stop the water from penetrating. Then we go after the mechanical systems, you know, then we do finishes at the end. So that's the procedure. It's worked with many projects, and we would continue with that process.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I like that because, well, I just have some questions about the usage of inside, so they're not relevant to this part of it. So that's, yeah. Okay.
So let me try this motion here. The Community Preservation Committee recommends to the town council through the town manager, the Department of Public Works, applications for 2.9 million in community preservation funds for the preservation and restorations of the Hyannis Armory located at 225 South Street, Hyannis, map 326, parcel 004, by preserving the building envelopes, including masonry restoration, steel lintel work, window and door replacement, and roof restorations or replacement. Funds are to be first to be expended from the Community Preservation Historic Preservation Fund, and any remaining balance expended secondly from the Community Preservation's undestinated funds.
Yeah, well done, Tom. I second.
Roll call.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Farley.
Farley,
Oh, yes.
Steve Robichaud.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I left you 2 minutes.
Yeah, one last item here. I want to go before it. We've received a correspondent letter from the Barnstable Historic Society requesting the reallocations of the 24,832 of the unused grant funds that were designated for phase 1 work for the purpose of installing a much needed central air conditioning system to preserve the building and its artifacts. Estimates have been received for this work and are within the balance of unused grant money. I have discussed this with Lindsay as well as Stephen to get his personal opinion on this one. I think we need some a detailed cost estimate to confirm what you need to fix. We don't have a problem of allocating the unused money, but we just need a better estimate for what you needed for the air conditioning unit. We only want to do it once and not twice. So I think we'll try to contact you after the meeting and set this up. Okay? Lisa, is that okay?
She's muted.
Can you unmute?
Yeah, she's on mute.
I got 1 minute left. So then I'm gonna skip the project update. For the meeting format for May 19, can we go back into the remote?
Fine with me.
Yes.
Yes.
But I sort of second what Steve said earlier about being more involved, because I feel like it's happening. Decisions are being made among a couple of people and not discussed because we don't have time or whatever the reason is. And I'm feeling a little left out too.
Okay. Okay. I hear you. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We are adjourned at
6:45.
5.
Oh,
Nice
good
job,
job.
Tom.